A little bit out of the weather, but we're not contagious.
Yeah, I've already seen a doctor, I don't have. It's
No, there's a respiratory infection going around.
Oh,
It's non-COVID, upper sinus area.
Yeah.
And I've had it, I've been on antibiotics, they even had to put me on Protisol to try to knock it out.
How long have you had it? You know?
I'm done with it now, but it went away just before I went to California, and then it came back again. So I'm on my second
Oh,
month
this
of
is something
antibiotics.
down here. This
Second
is-
month.
It's like, she can't really say that, because that's her personal,
Right.
we don't, we would have to vote on that, if we want to take, if we want to take a position on that, and I don't personally,
I have to be careful.
it's just, you know, it's kind of.
It's come and go. It's embarrassing when you go out and you go to meetings and
We don't have any for that from my calling her,
excuse me.
there was really an update.
Oh, there's one here.
Is that right? That's not right on up there.
I'm just five behind you, so. Sorry, I walked over here. How's everybody doing? Let's just sit here.
Upper
I'll just
respiratory,
sort of-
yeah, but I think ours is
Yours is
more.
chest.
Or maybe I'll come behind you.
Because my ears and nose are fine.
I'm a part of the team, but I don't feel like, yeah, that's great. I'll work here. I was like, yeah, I don't take it.
Well, this is,
Well, that's, I'm kind of crossing my line because it's been going around for a while, so, I've had it for a while, I should say.
I just miss you. Really, it's all that this is.
We have to, yeah. But I
actually,
should see a doctor.
Dave, do you wanna, did you bring your cord by any chance?
No, I think it would just plug right into that thing.
Oh, okay.
See, it persists. And
I can't get over there right now.
Does it mean it'll function?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
whatever.
it just-
no, but it's very, it's uncomfortable.
It is.
It's in your chest.
Mhm.
This one, right?
It's sore, I feel
Yeah.
sore, and then sometimes yeah, in the morning I get a sore
That's
throat.
where it started. with the sore throat.
No, am I doing something wrong, Dave?
Good evening.
I don't know if the sore throat is just from the coughing or what.
I don't know if it's directions are wrong.
That's the power part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's one over here.
About it, but I keep thinking it's gonna go away, because I get through my day, but it is tiring.
The latter part of the
Yeah,
night.
that would go right into that side.
Yeah.
All you need is this.
I mean, I did.
Do you have this?
time, I
All you
think
need is
I'm
this.
with her.
Oh, okay.
But you don't have a longer cable?
No, this is as well.
last time. Yeah, last time we shut it over
Because then you could use this. So put your laptop here, and everything is connected.
This time where we got this and there was a, it was this guy we used.
Company I work for,
But you could just use
they're
this.
going through a
And then you
whole
have to like sit right here.
No, you don't.
system update.
Because it's
They're
a
switching
wireless.
this over and switching that over.
Wireless, yeah, we
And
can
it's
use it.
comes up your
Oh,
Yeah.
my laptop is over here.
Because it's like,
Yeah, but you
this
can
is
operate it
Sometimes
from
it's going smoothly, and we have to transfer.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So pass your laptop.
Which is.
Does anybody
Always the salespeople make it sound
Anybody?
wanna,
reality.
well, I think we all need our laptops, so somebody would have to not,
We got no,
whoever's
you
projecting
don't have to
there.
use a password anymore, you just
When has it
computer. You
got
put your finger on the
overtaxed,
computer
I
and
guess,
it reads your
Pretty
finger.
And you don't want to do
Paste that back.
Really?
Then we also pin them.
I
Change that in. Okay, I did all
The
that.
bike links
We're
And
gonna
it
just
worked
have to
once.
arm wrestle.
And then, so I sit there trying, I don't know, I just, I don't know what to do, I screwed up. So I finally asked the person,
I keep using my taste
I don't know.
and I asked, oh yeah, you have to use the company password.
Use some
Yeah,
harder.
I'm sitting there for an hour.
Hopefully I turned off all notifications. He's gonna go.
Until they get it set up, but yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Until they get it set up, the company, even though I got everything in, until they get it set up.
This is really.
I'm sorry?
I'm okay,
I work for an insurance broker right now, with property casualty.
I was gonna make a nice organized
Business.
folder for each we have
Exactly,
everything.
Less
thank you.
of
I used to work on that when I was.
I think it's when you closed it and
Like
it's
last
not
week,
plugged in.
like just like
There you go.
do the like the range
Oh my
sheet,
God.
like from the sustainability. I'm like, then I got like where do they think like I don't know. And now I'm
That's
like I
much
can't.
Mine was taking my knowledge of remediation.
No, the other way.
Oh, yeah.
The Germans hate it. They always thought wondered why my 30-year projections keep restarting at 30 years the next year. Because it's a 100-year liability.
Right.
But we can't project that to the IRS.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing.
Yeah.
We're alive and well.
Excellent.
works on Zoom.
Yeah, I just turned it to, what, oh, now it's on.
No DPC.
I forgot to send the agenda until, well, I got it, we got it up on the website, but
I saw that you sent it this morning and then forgot that I was supposed to be the one to send it if you didn't send it, but now I remember, so next month I'll remember.
Yeah, it's not.
we got in there.
Yeah.
I got a
I
little
saw
slap
your
on the
email.
wrist. They want 48 hours advance notice, which is certainly courteous. I sent it yesterday and then I sent a reminder today.
Well, I'm gonna put a reminder to myself.
She never told me.
I mean, the water quality, you know.
Dave, is that your picture?
Oh, that's a separate issue.
Yeah.
Is that your picture?
No,
No.
I printed them out.
Yes, so that kind of went through that.
Well, you have to understand,
It's
I
like
used
the
to
standard
regulate
picture for the
things.
operating.
Yeah, and
I
I
haven't
knew
seen
that,
it.
I knew that. Someone knows what they're doing.
Well,
Everyone's got these questions.
Well, we have a lot to cover, so while we're getting the audio visual worked out, I guess we could start with the roll call, on the agenda then.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm adding an alert to my calendar so I remember to send it.
Okay.
The agenda list. And then we shall approve the minutes.
So,
All right. Got that.
Play mode is off.
okay. All right, so I guess, well, first we're just taking attendance, so we have that all squared away.
You're here, Janelle's here, I'm here, Dave's here, Jenna is not maybe coming.
No, she just, that's what she thought.
Okay.
Travers?
Roy.
Roy's still recuperating.
No Roy, no Travers.
I'm late too.
Megan.
yeah.
Hi.
Hi, Megan.
Alex here. Alex.
And then,
Helena?
No.
No.
He can actually go there.
No Matt.
He just moved.
Chuck?
Oh, you sure?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want that
Cameron
on?
is sort of starting stuff is everywhere. Robert? Oh, Mara?
Rob Morrow is not here this evening. Either Leon is in. Louisa's not here, she's out of the traveling.
No Oscar.
Oscar, no Schmetter, Terrence, Nancy's here.
I'm here.
Yeah, Terrence and Oscar are kept on as a courtesy.
Right,
So when we have projects, we can move them in
Right.
easily.
Okay.
and then Eric is here.
I'm still not in the green team yet, but I promise I will.
Did you send in the
Okay.
application?
I started.
I mean, I didn't, I was like, I'm not doing this whole thing, so.
It's a lengthy application, I think there's at least 3 questions. You got your name, first and last.
Oh, I know. It took me a while to figure that out.
How do you spell your last
It
name?
didn't bother me because I'm a TMI person. so
Name's
regret-
Louise.
Yeah.
AS.
Okay, I'll work it out with the clerk for the next meeting.
It's just,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just lazy.
As long as your
on my part.
application is in.
I'm not quite
Perfect.
type A personality.
So we have a quorum.
But you have, obviously.
Okay.
I got one here with me.
Number of people around.
Alright. And did anybody have any, so as far as the minutes from the last month that we've distributed, anybody, do we have a motion to approve them?
You have a motion for me to approve them.
Yes.
I second.
Okay. Oh, I guess I can approve them.
Yeah.
Well, you still have to have a
So
vote.
you just say like,
You say
All in
all
favor.
All in favor?
oh, all in favor.
Aye.
Are you saying
Any
opposed?
opposed?
Any opposed?
Anybody? Nancy?
No. I just did that to check.
All right.
Okay. All right, and then I guess the next thing, we'll just kick it off with the action items from the previous meeting. Or we could also just do them like as we're going down the initiatives.
Sure. Oh, were you asking me?
Yeah, why don't we just do that, instead of like just having them
I'm
up
sorry,
front.
I'm really adjusting. It was a long day. I have a brand new boss and boy, she's not.
Taking a little adjusting, huh?
Oh, certainly is. She's great. But, you're asking me. Okay.
No, that's okay. We can, why don't we plan on integrating them into, we're just gonna basically run down the list of the different initiatives. We also have a presentation this evening from Pam MacArthur on the gas-powered leaf blower reduction, some considerations for the EC that we'll look forward to that. It'll be 15 minutes or so plus like 5 minutes or so for a Q&A, and then just as an initial briefing for us all to get familiar with the subject, and we can determine where to go from there. But otherwise, we'll start rolling down the list here of the various initiatives that we have on our plate. So the first is just the administrative category. Administrative items. We heard from Eric that his Green Team application is in the works. Dave and I met to discuss the organization of the files, and what we concluded is that the official files are really better for public distribution, would be the agenda and the minutes, and those are pushed out through the webmaster. Anna does that monthly, and I do as well, so we kind of work as a team on that, and those get pushed out monthly, and those are the official documents of the Environmental Commission. Unofficially, people may have their own private files, which is totally normal, and there may be other files that we could share with one another. So we're looking to sort of consolidate the files. I did get the RBEC email squared away. Thank you, Nancy, for helping on the.
Oh, you're most welcome.
Send that over, so I'm all up and running. You guys got, I think, my first email today on the site plan review that we can talk about later. There's also the one more administrative thing has to do with Facebook. We wanted to find out who has administrative privileges on the account, because Dave can post.
I can post, that's it. So I can't see permissions, and I can't add anybody, remove anybody.
It's all.
Oh. Well, the other thing that had come up,
I can help you with that.
The other thing that had come up from just in the community was that commenting was enabled on our Facebook. And since I don't have the owner control, I can't see those settings, so I think they need to be shut off to comply.
Sure. Do you mind if I talk to you after that? And
Sure, yeah.
just make sure that I have all the kind of permissions you need.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, Dave's up.
No, he's not. I
Oh.
think it's your computer. That's why it's not working. It's your computer. It's your computer that's not working.
Oh.
Because mine works with it. Perfectly fine.
All right.
So it's you.
All right.
Okay.
That's okay. We're good. For now, we're just gonna have the agenda up there anyway. So.
I'll plug it back into you.
Okay.
It'll warm up in a minute.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll square away that later. Somebody brought up comments, and I forget where they submitted a ticket through. I think they sent the email. Somehow it came to me, and they were saying that the social media policy says that had something to do with comments, but we can get comments, but we're just not supposed to be engaging.
You don't answer.
Right.
Yeah.
But I noticed on the borough's page, you can actually post comments on the borough's Facebook page, but
And nobody answers.
again, nobody was it's not
Right, and
as
I think the
interactive.
social media policy is usually the pinned post
Yeah,
at the top. At least I know it is for the borough website, and the
Yeah.
last I checked, the EC website, I think it's there.
okay,
So there is no,
Oh,
there
look
would
at
be no responses from that page.
right. I mean, it really hasn't ever come up as a problem, it's just something important to note. Okay. All right then. The next, we sent out a doodle poll for an upcoming opportunity to be present and represent the Environmental Commission and engage with the community. The first one was for the Hispanic Heritage Celebration, which you guys may know was actually canceled due to inclement weather. It was initially postponed and then it was canceled this year. The second one though, coming up on Sunday, October 22nd, a Halloween parade. If you haven't had the opportunity to respond to the doodle poll, if you have any availability, and then depending on how many people are available, we can make an assessment if the EC is going to be present for the Halloween parade on Sunday, October 22nd.
Well, I'll be walking with my grandchildren, but does that count?
Yeah, maybe they might want to. What are they representing?
Themselves.
What's that?
Like Spider-Man and.
So, yeah, Spider-Man. Is Spider-Man environmentally friendly? Are they part of like a club or a team or something like that?
No, they're 3 and 5.
So we could pull them in. So you're offering free mascots. Okay. Okay. So maybe we'll just, do you?
So I will be there.
Okay.
I think one year we did that, it was Roy and I
Mm-hmm.
and one other person, this is going back some years ago, that we walked the Halloween parade and you just kind of walked with the group and they had the EC banner, because like you have to show that we were part of the EC.
Mm-hmm.
You'll walk with us. right?
So the kids could walk with.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, I'll be with my 3 and 2-year-old.
Hopefully by now.
Sounds like we have more mascots.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you
I was gonna say mine will be. We won't be there, but he'll be with his grandparents there.
There you go.
We're out of town that weekend, unfortunately.
All dressed as tiny trees.
I know. I was like, okay, we haven't picked a costume yet, so can I make an
Okay,
environmental
so I think we have
costume
enough
for
people
it?
that we should, and then you responded that you could do it, so thank you.
Yeah.
So I think we should do it.
Well, no,
Yeah.
actually 9.
So we'll.
Do we have like a banner?
we do have a Red Bank Environmental Commission banner. It doesn't say green team yet because we never got around to it. But, you know, if you want to design
Okay.
something, and I look at Davies, the creative one in our group, you know, we can have a
Multi-use.
banner made, yeah.
So no table, but a walk.
It's just, you walk around and then I think at the White Street lot is when they have all the games, the prizes, and, yeah.
Okay. All right, perfect. So we will be there.
Oh,
So we do have an agenda.
Banners.
What's that?
Should I work on the banner? Want me to send it to
Do you-
you?
What,
Banner?
the banner design?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then I'll forward it into the borough, and they have, their person that does the
Right,
graphic
can-
design.
yeah.
Yeah, it's usually Debbie Marks.
Are we getting a new banner?
We can get a new
We
banner.
could get it by October 22nd.
I don't know about that, but I know that we can get a banner. Sue is saying yes.
Debbie could get it pretty fast.
Okay, thank you. But we have to go through appropriate channels to make sure it's paid for, because it can come possibly out of our trust fund, which would bring us down to $70.
Okay. We have an agenda item here for an update from you, Councilwoman Blackwood. Would you like to give your update now? Anything
Okay,
particularly you want to share?
sure, so I'm looking for it's under admin. Yes, the green team, even though you guys didn't realize it, participated in a pop-up bike lane that was done for Porch Fest. So this idea came about last year when I saw so many people cycling. I said, why don't we do pop-up lanes for Porch Fest?
Mm.
And Lisa Lee was here and she was doing the Learn to Ride program at Broadwalk, and she says, that's a great idea. I just did something like this in Passaic, so she knew how to do it, which made it a lot easier. The weather really was not cooperating with us until Sunday morning. So essentially we had 3 hours to set up the whole bike lane, which resulted in just a lot of sharrows at this point because we were running out of time. And it was the fastest to put together. And there was a lot of promotion for it. And what I observed at Porch Fest this past Sunday was that people who came in from out of town to come to Porch Fest parked their vehicles and took their bikes and rode around to the venue, which is kind of what we wanted people to do. So it worked out. I was hosting, so I couldn't see who was using the bike lanes or not. But I did see a lot of cyclists on the road. One of the challenges we had on some of the streets was that there was a lot of brush in the lane because they didn't have time to clean it up after all the rain that we had. So we had to work around it. But there's going to be a survey coming out to get people's feedback, and it's a good demonstration project to determine where we could make bike lanes permanent. In order to do this project, it had to be MUTCD compliant, which means we had to get sign-off from the borough engineer, NJTPA, and NJDOT. And so, that was the biggest hurdle.
Oh my God, how long did that take?
Yeah, I can imagine. We got approval Friday morning.
Oh, okay.
That's how long it took. Fortunately, NJTPA had they had the stencils, which is like the biggest thing, because we ran out and they bought Easy Ride bought spray paint and Crayola green paint. DPW loaned us the machine that they used to chalk the fields. And so that's what we use to make the bike lanes, which is basically just lime. So, that started to blow away already. So all of this is temporary, which might take a couple of weeks to fully disappear unless we get, a couple more rainfalls like we had last week this time. So that's, it was a big plus.
That was great. I rode not in the bike lane area because I just stayed on the east side. I had my kids with me, and but it was a wonderful day. Everybody was in the streets and happy, and
it was a lovely. Yeah, everybody was happy. I think it was the first day. It was really nice out too. So everybody was naturally happy about that, and then they could ride their bikes pretty much safely around town.
Yeah.
And I think that was important as well. Let's see, what are the constraints? Oh, why there weren't so many bike lanes on the east side. We were basically looking to get crosstown traffic.
Yeah.
That was the biggest impact because, it would involve more work, more traffic safety, and, even though we had a lot of volunteers, when you have 3 hours to actually lay this thing out, you realize how quickly time flies.
Yeah. There was less of a concentration of the porches on the east side, so maybe it wouldn't have been worth the effort.
Right, yeah. And, the chief made he listed all the streets where we could consider the bike lanes, and then I sort of drew the map and then handed it over to Porch Fest for them to bless it, and then the engineer had to bless the street designs as we had them, so. We did get a little bit of tug of war about the placement of the actual bicycle lane, because they wanted it, cars should park and it's temporary, so we put it where the bike lanes really should be, which is at the curb, to protect the cyclists as much as possible. So,
Chuck's over to you.
That's why when I came back, I'd been out in California, and I came back this week. I noticed when I drove down Layton, there were bike lane symbols, but they were out in the main lanes.
yeah, those are called sharrows.
Okay.
Yeah, and we ran out of signs that said pop-up bike lane, shared road kind of thing too. But yeah, and you can thank Christina for that, because Christina laid out Layton.
They were very distinctive, but I think, whoa, when did we just get these? And then, because when I left, they weren't there.
Yeah, no, it was fun, and that is where they're supposed to be, is in
They're
the middle
supposed to be
of
in
the
the
road.
middle of
In
the
fact,
road.
it turns out some of our others in town are not where they're supposed to be.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be
Oh,
there.
well, congratulations. And it's good because I notice it makes people slow down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'll just say, anecdotally, my experience, I mean, we did that, but even as much as there was a technical lesson in, how these might work, I think half of it to me was a marketing lesson, because if we advertised as a bike safe location on this particular day, I mean, there were so many more bikes than last year.
we did.
Oh, I think if people understood that we are a bike friendly town, I think we could get more of that traffic all the time.
But we did. We had a separate flyer that Porch Fest was promoting, which I think is what attracted a lot of
Yeah,
people
people want it.
to town. We had people from Asbury, people from Eatontown. This lady who lives off Half Mile Road rode her bike all the way over. I was like, you went down West Front Street? She goes, yeah.
She made it under the bridge, all right?
She made it under the bridge, all right, yes.
She's ahead of most people.
Exactly, so it worked out nicely. I don't have anything else
Okay.
off the top of my head to
Okay.
report, so that's
Since
it.
we have another councilwoman here, would you like to provide any update on your end?
My only one, I like to plug them because they're so great and they've been at our events before. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to try to go to the Pick It Up session
what time is
the
that?
downtown, 8:45 a.m. at 50 Broad Street. They do a cleanup downtown.
Where the
50 Broad Street. It's in front of Splendor Graphics.
isn't Splendor upstairs?
Yes, but
Okay.
if you were to Google it.
Thank you. I forgot to mention something under administrative, kind of a big deal. What are your thoughts? I'd like to take a vote on moving the EC meetings from Tuesday night, first Tuesday of the month, to Wednesday, first thing of the month, first Wednesday of the month. Because we used to meet there, and I forget why we moved here, but it's downstairs. It's where we met the 2 months ago. It's kind of a nicer room. It's a big, long table. We would still have a screen. I think we could hook up to the screen. I think so. But
Definitely like more room for this.
yeah, more room. Same time, just a different day, different night.
I think the reason why we came up here was we were able to project plans as we were doing site plan reviews up here, and it was a lot easier to do than
Mm-hmm.
downstairs. And of course, at the time, there were fewer of us.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have, a revived
Mm-hmm.
Green Team, NDC. Well, the EC always met, but now we have a lot more Green Team members. I think, that's okay. In order to do that, I would suggest you check with all the members to see if they're okay.
Okay.
And then you would send an email to Bonnie Thomas.
Okay.
And ask if you can move to that date and time.
Okay.
And then she'll let Terrence know so that they'll leave the door open
Okay.
as well. Because usually that's the other thing that happens, you get locked out.
So should we go the formal route? Like, yeah, like motion to.
I second your motion.
Okay.
What about Travers, Jenna, Roy?
I think we have a form.
Okay, I'm gonna be selfish. I have workout Wednesdays, every Wednesday, where I go to the gym, and I really like that class.
What time is it? Can we move it back? 7?
It's at 5:15. I guess I could come right from there, which would be kind of gross.
Well, it's a big room, so we won't speak.
Yeah. I guess I could do that, because I usually do 5:15 to 6:15.
Yeah, just wear some athleisure. I mean, workout clothes these days are really nice.
Yeah. My friend did just get me Peloton pants, so.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna be very trendy.
Is it close by? Could you be?
Yeah, I go to Alpha.
Oh, you go to Alpha. I was gonna say, do you go to Alpha?
Yeah.
2 hours. You're gonna be quite sweaty.
I will be. They actually have a shower. Well, alright. We'll make it work. I was just gonna put that out there. I like my schedule.
Well, I mean,
I
we should
did
say
like
before on the vote.
Yeah. Well, I got the
No, I don't anymore. I did for
Okay.
a while, but.
Okay,
So I'm a runner, so I'm like, I tried it. And it's not for me.
Yes.
It's like, I'm just like,
Okay.
I usually can be around.
Danelle?
I can't, I just
Sure.
usually be told what to
Yes.
do. Yes.
Yes.
Like a troll surgeon.
She's been like roll forward.
Oh, okay. Jenna's not here. Absent. Roy, absent. Travis, absent. Megan.
Yes.
Okay. And Alex.
Yes.
Okay, I'm the only no, but I'll be a maybe. Do we all
Oh,
have
did I
to
just
agree?
say yes to Wednesday? I was just saying yes to my name.
Yes to Wednesday.
Sure.
Do we all have to say yes?
Is your name Megan?
You say
It
all
is.
in favor. You say all in favor. You do roll call and say all in favor.
Well, okay.
Do you want to meet at a later time with that work?
No, I just will, adjust.
No.
Okay.
So you do need to hear from Roy, Travers, and Jenna.
Yeah. So how do you want to handle that? Do I Should we email them?
Yeah, I'll contact them.
Okay.
Or could you contact them and see what they think? Let me know.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess we'll make the final call after that. Hopefully we keep, everybody, it works for everybody's schedules. Okay, moving along here, we have a lot to cover. The corroborating the tree lists, I think we should wait until Jenna and Travers are here to do that. The EC plant schedule, with the shade tree list, so we could just work on that offline. Is there anything at this point for bike rack locations that we need to keep on our radar as the EC? Just suggesting locations?
Just suggest locations.
Okay.
And how you suggest them and how
Bless
many
you.
early enough, I think what could be done is the EC could make a formal request into the manager to say, hey, next year when you're doing your budget, can you please add these items in and, see if they would also communicate with traffic safety to see if that's a
Okay.
safe location for bike lanes too.
So maybe we'll just leave this as like an open item, and if anybody,
I think we have a plan, don't we?
do we?
Like a bike ped plan, right, Bud?
Yeah, it's in,
Don't
from
they recommend-
2010, but they don't say anything about bike rack.
But wasn't there one that New Jersey Transit did with MJTPA for Red Bank? And I think it was like bike access to the train station, but it doesn't cover the entire borough, but
Right.
maybe there'd be some recommendations there that we can like pick up from.
I haven't looked at that in a
Yeah.
while, we're double checking, yeah.
Cause maybe we could just pick a couple from there and then.
I hope that someone knows this.
I'll
I hope
check
that
it.
someone knows of this document.
I know, right?
Thank you, Megan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is the ERI. I found out that typically, like a $20,000 grant would probably be the ideal grant amount for an ERI. We do have an open grant in the amount of $20,000. It would be ideal if we closed out that grant before we could go for another one.
That grant is, in such a way, it's a $20,000 grant where Sustainable Jersey would give you 10,000 and the borough throws in 10,000. Right now, they're looking to allocate that to put in the infrastructure that will be used to create charging stations
Right.
in the borough. So that's
Right.
what they're doing. And
So is that considered a $20,000 grant or a $10,000 grant?
it's considered a $20,000 grant, but the stipulation is,
Somebody tells
it's
me they're
10
gonna
and
give me
10.
20 grand, I want my 20 grand.
I know, I felt that
But,
way too.
okay, so, let me come back to the grants, cause that's a separate category.
Okay.
But, so for the ERI, from talking to Sustainable Jersey, we are not really eligible for another grant in the same category until we close out the one in that category.
Right, so there's, let's see, they have the $2,000 grant is open, the $20,000 grant is open, there's a $10,000 grant that's out there.
I mean,
This is
unless it's
Sustainable
like
Jersey.
literally 10 grand, not
It's
like
literally
5
10
grand,
No, it's a real 10 grand.
which is consequently the same as
The
the
20,000.
20,000.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I don't know if the borough wants to pony up 10 grand, cause it's basically 20 grand for an ERI.
I keep looking at the planning and zoning office since it is a document that is to be used by planning and zoning.
There's other stuff that we're probably gonna try to rearrange, I know at the end of the year, so I think Tom is out this week, CFO, but
Oh,
we can
yeah.
ask, we can coordinate and ask.
Okay.
So you'll find out if the borough has an appetite to kick in the balance?
There's probably a list of things, like a few, like budgeted and unbudgeted, like, like line items in that area,
When
but
you said
if
Tom, I didn't immediately know
it
about
turns
that.
out.
I think we would have a high likelihood of getting a $10,000 grant for an ERI. I mean, from Sustainable Jersey. I'm just saying,
Okay.
if we were interested. And so, we'll wait to hear from you on that, that'd be great. If
And is that the only place we can get money for an ERI?
So that's a good question. That's the only one I'm aware of currently, but I'm not like the grant master.
No. If we have grant masters, right? The
Millennium?
Millennial.
Yeah,
Millennium
they're
strategies,
really
yeah.
good.
Do they are they acquainted with a lot of different programs, or do they just write them?
They're acquainted with a lot of programs
Okay.
because they do the grants for many different places.
Could we ask them?
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah,
would that
that's
cost?
an easy ask.
Okay.
Who is it?
Millennium
Maybe
strategies.
Is it okay if I email them and introduce myself and ask if they're familiar with any grants in that category, or does somebody else want to take the lead on that?
I could take the lead through Darren. 'Cause,
Okay.
You know, everything kind of goes through the administrator, the manager. If you don't mind,
No.
I'll CC you on the email.
And that grant, what does it get us for the year? Didn't we determine that it would be more expensive than 20?
It's like a ballpark.
Oh, okay.
It's like ballpark. It's close to 20.
Okay.
I reached out to Kratzer. They're a small boutique environmental consulting company. They are not like the go-to, but they do a lot of it. Like this is their specialty. They probably have low overhead because it's, Debbie Kratzer, she's the one who answers the phone. And they did the one for Ocean Township, and I met the folks at Ocean Township a few years ago at a hub meeting, and they were happy with like how the process worked, working with Kratzer. So, I mean, we would still have a part in developing the ERI as the EC, and other folks like the Historic Preservation Commission and stuff like that. It's not like we're off the hook and they just do everything for us, but it's just better to have like somebody take charge of it. And it's in the 20. So basically, it's a chicken or the egg type thing. You kind of proceed with the grant, because I reached out to ANJAC about the sequencing, and they said you can, if you have reasonable confidence that you're going to line up the money, the 20 grand, then you can go ahead and issue an RFP. And Kratzer told me it's not uncommon for her to be responding to RFPs, determine that they're the lowest bidder, and then the borough just doesn't come through with money. Like, it's just part of doing business. It's not like good business. Like, we should have a reasonable expectation that we're getting the funding. But then once we know that that's coming, or confident that that's coming, we could go ahead, get the ERI going. Because the thing is once you get a grant, you have to turn that deliverable around within a certain amount of time. So you kind of want to like line the ducks up, get the ducks up and running. So, okay. So that's the ERI. We could get a presentation, like if we, as things progress, we could get presentations from any of the bidders to learn more about the process, and it wouldn't preclude them from, it wouldn't pose a conflict necessarily, as we could certainly double check that, but that I'm aware of, just from having them give us a presentation. And I did get some sample RFPs on the ERI that we could use if the time comes, when the time comes. Anything on food waste and composting?
Just that we're meeting the 16th, and then they're doing their first like presentation. It's a little sampler, so that's why we're meeting on the 16th. They're gonna run through their little blurb, and so we're just kind of trucking along. They're hoping to table at events. So like when at the Green Fair, they're hoping they would be happy to have a table at our Green Fair in the spring. This is kind of like somewhat adjacent in terms of composting. Nancy, do you know when the contract is up for like trash and recycling? When that's going to be like
I want to
renegotiated?
say in about a year or two.
Okay, so we have time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, because there are a lot of companies that are interested in rethinking how we do our recycling.
Okay.
Yeah, they're starting with plastic film. By the way, everybody remember, put your buckets out tonight. Plastic
Yep.
film. Let's pick up.
I posted all about it.
Also, sorry to bounce back to the ERI. Megan, you were going to mention it to the planning board. Do you happen to recall? mention anything?
Our meeting was all of 12
Oh,
minutes.
okay.
12 minutes.
It was.
Okay.
I wanna get on that board. Only 12 minutes.
Alright, sorry about that. Yeah, is there a way to email, or I can email Shauna and then she can,
I don't remember what you were gonna inquire about.
if they were interested in doing one.
Right. Like, is
So
it
you're
something
saying, like, they might actually collaborate with,
Cause it would like
my
support.
HPC, like there are multiple entities would be involved in guiding or doing some of the actual work.
It's somewhat of, it's basically like a, I'm not sure what the term is, but it's like a part of the master plan
Yeah.
essentially.
So to see if they wanted that as part of like
Yeah,
the
well, and folks
update to the
mentioned that
master
last
plan.
night, like, are there ways to move certain pieces forward? Yeah, if you want, like, email Dan and Shauna, you can CC me too, just to put
Okay.
it out there from this
And then he could bring it
forward.
up at the next,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I guess just starting to build somewhat of a consensus that
Yeah.
we're, you know, looking to do this and.
Yeah. And that helps me too, because I can, the funding question.
Mhm. Okay, and then, grants. So we have two categories. One is existing grants and one is ideas for new grants. The existing ones, we have $1,000 remaining for a rain garden. It was part of a $2,000 grant. There was talk of putting a rain garden at the senior center in the island of the parking lot, but that is where we're looking to put a bike rack. So I guess we're looking for a location for where to put in a rain garden for $1,000. And I guess we would need to, I mean, it would be great if like we had some thoughts on that, or who would be a good person, like Terrence or somebody?
Terrence. I have a thought actually from yesterday. I happened to be at the senior center,
Mhm.
chatting with Jackie, and they have in that back area. There's just a low fence there in the back, and I don't know if this would be rain garden, but at least could. She's looking potentially for something like maybe vegetation that would go behind that fence toward that slope that would be protective, meaning people wouldn't be able to hop under that fence where it's a little dangerous, and it might also be a good thing for runoff.
Yeah.
So
That
maybe
would
this
be a
group would
location.
have great suggestions as to like what could go there that would fulfill those needs. Maybe it could also be, I guess that's sort of a rain garden, right?
Yeah, I
And
mean, if
maybe
there's
even
runoff.
like something with berries that's a good
But
habitat.
that slope is pretty steep.
But
So
right at the
top,
fence,
okay.
yeah, like directly behind was the split rail fence.
Yeah.
Something that would, for safety as well and could help
Mm-hmm.
runoff.
Yep.
Be
What location?
The senior center
Oh.
behind where like there's a fence and then immediately it starts sloping down.
Okay.
Was that where you were trespassing?
Yes, it's correct, it's rare trespassing. And
I'm sorry, I just had to play with that.
I guess I could like take a look.
Yeah,
I just wanna get, just top of
it's
mind.
literally behind the senior center. There's a fence and then
Dave, could you
there's a
bring it
steep
up on
slope.
the Google map, please?
Mhm.
Or is that? No, because it's up there. No.
We'll see.
Does the keyboard not work?
No.
The battery issue?
For the rain garden, is there a recommended size or
It really is like you're trying to.
just however much?
Yeah, exactly.
Finish up
Yeah.
a grant.
You're trying to capture as much
Yeah.
runoff as possible.
Got it.
Yeah.
I mean, so that counts, right? If it's just kind of buffering, it's not what we usually think of where it's like by a downspout, but that would
Yeah.
still be a rain buffer, stormwater buffer in a sense, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd have to take a look at the pitch of the asphalt part of the impervious
There's
surface that it's.
Yeah, it
It
doesn't
doesn't-
back into
it
it,
doesn't
it's
back into
lawn,
anything.
actually, right?
It's all
ahead of that.
lawn and then it goes into the,
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do any of the schools, could they use it as a tool for like
Yeah.
teaching?
80 Monmouth Street, no, 80
Exactly.
Shrewsbury Avenue.
For like the middle school?
Yeah, that would be great. The middle school would be great because we are teaming with them on the Green Fair, so
Oh,
that'd be a nice way
Have
to
you
keep.
reached out to the principal? Yeah, JT Pearson?
Well, Danelle has on
Oh.
other matters, but
Okay.
not in
Put it on the list.
regards to this.
I'm gonna use the satellite overlay.
What was
Danelle,
the address again?
80 Shrewsbury
since
Avenue.
you're the
Um,
okay.
It would
good suggestion.
Yeah.
What about places in town that we know flood?
I'm not sure
I
how
mean,
much
other
you
than
can see.
downtown.
So a lot of the brush that you see there has been cleared out and been terraced. So that's one of the changes. So you're talking
Where are you
right
talking?
over the fence.
Okay.
There's the senior center. A lot of that was cleared out and it's been terraced.
Oh,
But if you go over where the fence is, to put in
Where's the fence?
It would be against that edge where it goes
Against
from
the edge.
lawn into
Yeah.
greenery, up a little bit, Dave, up a little
Yeah,
bit
the
more.
edge,
Like
right.
to see where the 74 is.
yeah. See where the 74 is at the top?
Yeah, just
Okay,
a
now
little
back
bit
up
to your left.
to the, yeah,
Yeah.
right
yeah.
there.
See, the thing is like you want to have it adjacent to the asphalt, right? So that it's
Oh.
capturing that surface water runoff, like all
Okay.
that crud that leaches off of the vehicles onto the asphalt. When it rains, it just gets all washed into the stormwater system, and the
Okay.
rain garden is supposed to capture that
Yeah.
as much as possible. Unless
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
an
I
inundated-
get
Yeah.
that this is a
Functional.
stretch of the
Yeah.
meaning.
I mean, in a perfect world, these beautiful gardens that we have on Broad Street, we would just take a concrete chop saw, cut the curb out, and then the water would drain into that.
That's nice.
You know, that's how you do it.
But where they were
But
looking
does
to-
it have time to percolate, or
Yeah.
does it just shoot through?
No, I mean, if it's designed properly, I mean, you'd probably have to excavate it out though,
So
put
put
in
like
like
a
a
dry
stone,
well?
a dry well,
Okay.
basically.
So it could still go in that general area of the parking lot. If I can,
The thing
get
is,
up, I can show you.
it's probably the case that the parking lot is pitched towards the street.
Right, so they're thinking about putting the bike racks over here,
Okay.
so you can use this area here. What do you think? I mean, one day, if you have time during the day, we can take a walk over
Is
and
that-
take a look.
Looks
Yeah.
like that alternate color, is that a brick sidewalk?
Yeah, those are bricks.
Yeah, but that's a green area in between, but it's raised probably relative to the curb, isn't it?
Right.
It is raised, but they can slope it, I don't know which way.
Well, you could put a trough in
Yeah.
to feed it.
All right. Well,
And then put your,
why don't we consider some of these options, and then hopefully at the next meeting we'll have some more clarity on direction.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll call Google, see if they can fly over and update this image for us.
No one's got a drone?
So the next one is the Sustainable Jersey $20,000 grant, aka $10,000 grant. So we reoriented it for it was initially going to be solar panels at Count Basie Theater fields, and now it's going to be used for electric charging stations.
Right.
What
Not for
is-
electric charging stations.
Oh, okay.
For the infrastructure to get electric charging stations, because it was supposed to be an energy-related grant. And so we reached out to Sustainable Jersey and we said, we can't put solar panels on the concession stand at Count Basie Fields because the cost is way too high. Can't afford to do that. So could we use it to build the infrastructure that we need to put in updated electric charging stations? I don't know, for those of you who have electric cars, if you try to park over here, you're basically getting the Windows 2000 of charging speeds.
Yeah.
So, but that's because they need the infrastructure upgrade. So it helps pay for that infrastructure upgrade to upgrade those charging stations to that which could be faster. I mean, really, ideally, we want to have like at least one DCFC charger around.
So do we
That
just
would
need
be-
to? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I guess you have the one charger there and but it's not a fast charger.
No, it's,
C40, I think.
yeah,
it's not-
it's a level 2 charger,
Yeah.
but it's basically, given the technology, you know, it's 5 years ago and, you know, electric charging has changed significantly since then. So it is charging at like 15, 20 miles an hour. Ideally, you want to get something that charges minimally twice that speed.
So do we need to reach out to Chief McConnell to find out where we are in that process, and if we need to solicit bids from like electrical
Not yet.
contractors?
Not yet. The grant, it was packaged in with another grant to New Jersey, I forget whoever, was giving out the grant, so it's part of that package. So if we get that big grant, that's when all the funds will be used.
What's the timeline for finding out on that other one?
Probably pretty soon, because we made the deadline, like, you know, by the skin of our teeth, I knew it was in. So the deadline was up close, yeah.
Is there, just out of curiosity, is there any like reason behind, I noticed we didn't have any sort of generic charging stations that you would find, you know, out and about when you were driving, is like just in the municipal parking. Is there any action to maybe partner or get a private company just to come in there and set up charging stations?
There were some thoughts about that a couple of years ago, but I don't think it came to fruition. One of the challenges that we're having, even within the borough themselves, you know, they're also applying for a grant where they could get some electric vehicles as well. And so I think the first thing they want to do is put in a high-speed charger here and at DPW, and then go around town. But I'll email the chief and ask about that.
Company. It's not like we did
Yeah.
anything, I don't think. You would
Right.
just give them 4 spots or something and say.
I think we have a relationship with that right now with ChargePoint. We have something like that going on. I
Yeah.
don't think it's at the point where we're starting to make money. And I know that in the east side lots, where if you're going down towards Mechanic Street, you will see 2 spots that are designated for EV charging. I think they're working out a deal.
Oh, and those are charge point stations.
They're going to be, I think the vendor is ChargePoint.
They may,
Don't quote
may,
me on it.
For shopping, people that stop to go shopping and then.
Yeah. Like
Some-
the east side lot for now, so,
Yeah, the borough has a
And they're-
spreadsheet of tracking how much money they're making off of them,
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's
Now,
worth
the
it.
only thing I'm thinking of is that they can't track if they're really making money off of it, because you have to offset the cost of electricity.
Oh,
So,
it's a gross revenue.
It's a
not
gross
net.
revenue,
Okay,
not net.
gotcha. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Can I ask a question? Do we have any guidance on like the planning board side for new developments that are approved around electric vehicle charging?
And I believe we just updated it, right, Nancy,
Okay.
in line
Yeah.
with the state. We actually were a proactive town, so we
Okay.
had something in for new developments of a certain size for years. But we just updated it with the new master plan to align with the state guidance. I don't have to look
Yeah,
at the thing for
no,
the
just
actual
curious if
dimensions,
we had-
but it is
okay.
there.
No, my question was more along the lines of a private enterprise. Yeah, like just a private company
I
getting
remember it being
space.
talked about some years ago.
I want an EV car share so bad. So
Yeah,
cool.
that would
Maybe
be cool.
Maybe
I mean,
in-
we can't ever say, come here and go shopping and charge your car. That just isn't here.
Yeah.
So, you know, I didn't know.
We kind of want them to charge you. You know.
I notice when I drive around in my electric car, you know, I go to shopping malls, they have areas that either charge point or various other companies.
Various companies, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know why we didn't have that in our parking lot.
I don't know. I'll look up at Darren.
I think other towns might have, because they're just bigger spaces, like bigger lots are built there, they end up getting, like even by the state guidelines, they end up having to have some or have the infrastructure, whereas we don't have that many new surface lots where we would be kind of pushing those in. So maybe you're required to do it. Be my guess.
Okay. So we're gonna not really get into any ideas for new grants at this time. Want to make sure we have enough time for Pam's presentation. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So do you have do you want?
Oh, I
me to
thought
use-
you would put it up and then I would
From
just
my
say, like,
computer?
yeah,
Okay.
whoever would, has
This
the
goes to
direct
Dave.
connect.
Okay.
Sorry, Dave.
Let me just see. Where do I? Did you revise it after did you send it to me and then
Yes,
s-
I revised
send
it
you
after that and I sent you what I called the light version and that was what I was gonna go with and
Okay.
let everybody just, you know, think if it's too light, too heavy, whatever, you know.
Yeah. Got it. Okay.
This is gonna be embarrassing to bring out my email on this
Oh,
Well, long as away.
Here, I can connect my laptop.
This is Tony.
Or do you want me to email it to you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me do that. Okay, coming to you now.
He's like showing pictures on his phone.
Well, I guess there you go. Because I'm going for my COVID vaccine.
All right, got your appointment, there we go. Call all my neighbors. Because of course they're all like, look where it's.
Okay, send. While Dave was loading that, just to keep it going, we were gonna ask, on the Green Fair, JT Pearson for a date?
Yeah, I haven't,
Okay.
we've just kind of played a little bit of tag.
Okay.
So, I'll, yeah, no, really, no lie. I'm taking a day off tomorrow, so I'll reach out.
I did
first
see,
thing in the
some, correspondence with his full name on it.
James.
James. I did, and I was like, oh, I should
Who's this
update
guy?
the EC on that.
morning. Yeah, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay.
Alright, I'll let you drive.
And then,
All right,
well,
how do I do next slide? That is a big thing when it's able somebody else like that. Oh, yeah.
Just open and go to slides.
Just like this meeting
He's
is
going.
going to just for the cause itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not as formal as mine.
Are you getting the next slide or do I just click?
I think there's,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
just some
well,
more formal.
So I'll just give a brief intro. So Pam gave us the thought for this reduction in gas-powered leaf blowers, and I don't know if you guys know, but it's sort of spreading considerably throughout the country at municipalities. The state of California actually issued a statewide ban. And so it is something that Nancy and Christina and I learned about at ANJAC last year. And we heard from this borough of Spring Lake. They gave a presentation on it. And I know Maplewood, Princeton, there's a handful of others in New Jersey.
Montclair.
Montclair.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of buzz.
Bergen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And without further ado.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name's Pam. You know me. I am here tonight to talk to you about the air, because this is the Environmental Commission. This is about the air and noise pollution caused by gas-powered leaf blowers and ways to address that pollution while also maintaining an individual's or a commercial entity's ability to handle landscaping tasks that traditionally require the power of a gas-powered leaf blower. Okay, the first is, of course, air pollution. They produce high levels of ozone-forming exhaust. More people than me are familiar with the term VOCs, but I think they're really bad. And particulate exhaust. Now, ask questions throughout or at the end. Just don't be afraid to raise your hand and say. And, of course, particulate exhaust. These two aspects of it are, you know, probably commonly known. We smell them, and you can't get away from that. I liken it to the secondhand smoke issue, where everybody sort of wrote it off for a long time. But the more and more I read about this, the more and more I realized, or I found out that studies are showing that this form of air pollution is actually really contributing to global warming. The next is noise pollution. And, you know, noise pollution is, I guess, the new kid on the block in terms of a type of pollution. It's becoming more and more prominent in people's concerns with regard to pollution in general. But, of course, the noise pollution impairs communication and social interaction. You know, you don't want to be, I mean, I had 4 hours of leaf blower going on during porch day. My next door neighbor was out there it took 2 people 4 hours to leaf blow her yard, and that was during the music.
And they were to your left?
They were to my house, the immediate house to the right, and then one house two houses to my left. The same guy does the same 2 houses every Saturday or Sunday. He takes 4 hours every time, and he will not do it on weekends. It reduces the accuracy of work. Of course, people working at home, you know, they want to do their stuff, and that's always been, you know, high on the list of irritants for people that work at home, is having that whining sound. And that two-stroke engine is particularly loud. In case you're wondering, it's not just you, it's different from the sound of a four-stroke engine. It creates stress and aggravation, you know, even after the noise has ceased. People get, I mean, I actually found an article of a person in California or Arizona or somewhere that shot his neighbor. Wow. And I was like, whoa, okay.
Right, and these stressors are not only to those of us who are hearing it, it must be worse
No,
for the person operating the machinery.
terrible.
And I assume there's wildlife impact too.
Oh, significant.
That particular pitch of noise bothers dogs and cats. And,
But also the wildlife getting blown around.
oh, I would think. I didn't even think of that, but thank you for bringing that up. And of course, it causes or contributes to various types of health concerns, like hearing impairment, hypertension, sleep disturbance. And I was struck, of course, you know, diminished school performance. Do you really, you know, these are kids home and need to do their homework, and do they need a leaf blower going on?
And what are the decibel level readings coming off these?
I actually have that for you. They are upwards of 85, north of 85 decibels, which is,
Close to the train.
well, don't worry, we've got the trains next on the list. Give me a
Well, for the worker, it's actually higher than that. If you're away from it, but if you're working with it, it's 90, 95.
In any event, in the course of going through this, excuse me, there were a variety of, this seemed to be the construct of a regulation. I didn't put the language up there for everybody, but this would be like a calendar year of what gas-powered leaf blower regulation would look like. And, you know, beginning in May, for May, June, July, August, and September, there would be a 5-month period where you could not use them at all. During that period of time, you'd have other options, which we'll discuss later, of heavier duty equipment, but during that period of time, pretty consistently throughout the regulations, it seemed that people concluded that there isn't that much, you don't need that much power to blow grass clippings. And you just don't have the heavy duty tasks like in the spring and the fall cleanups. And then from October through April, you have limited powered leaf blower use, which would constrict it in terms of time, from like 4, say 8 till 5, and the typical regulation I saw would be like 10 to 2 on a Saturday and not on Sunday. That way people got a period of time where there's just peace and quiet.
But in the meantime, we can still hear the lawnmowers.
It's considered a different type of noise.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's the decibel levels and the actual pitch of the sound. In conclusion, it seemed like a 5-month ban on them, and time restrictions the rest of the year would be a reasonable solution, and it would take into account both people's needs for just peace and quiet and clean air, and also allow people to use more powerful equipment during periods of time when that more powerful equipment is needed. Are there any questions? I'll show you some FAQs.
You haven't given us the decibel.
Oh, pardon me?
That's what I'm trying to.
I mean, one thing that we could maybe tie it to, like, you've got months, I'm just trying to think other ways that, you know, we get, if we move it forward, is what are the months they don't do leaf pickup? Like right now, it drives me crazy that people are doing all this work, but nobody's coming to pick it up. It's gonna be there at the curb.
I know.
So.
I think I'm twice a month.
No, there's
in
specific
September.
dates now. Let me look that up.
You don't have to look it up, I'm just saying that might be a happy mix of the months.
And can I ask a random question I don't know the answer to, but I feel like someone in this room will? Isn't it supposed to be where we keep our leaves
Yeah,
or
I was
grass
gonna say,
clippings?
you're supposed to actually keep your leaves and
'Cause
grass
it's, like,
clippings
better.
on your grass. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's better.
Okay.
It
Right.
protects your grass throughout the winter and gives nutrients and allows all of
So maybe that's where we should come from,
You
like
should
that
suggest
angle.
it and then say, okay.
Right,
we really-
education and awareness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you need both. You need
Yeah.
an education component and like.
I hope.
Why not? But I would think you still want a decibel cap.
No, you can't do it on a decibel cap because it's in essence unenforceable. You'd have to have people chasing around folks and taking decibel readings with their phones, you know.
That's true.
It's so, that's been kind of abandoned as a method of,
So, I'm just looking on the borough website, they do the brush collection, once a month. And it depends if you're east of Broad or west of Broad. So I think, it goes only from April to October, so there is only one more pickup. And so what you have during this time is you have a lot of companies that are just blowing this stuff and they're blowing it into the street, which creates, you know, of course, a problem. And as you mentioned, it should really be like in the landing strip minimally, the planting strip minimally, or on your lawn, or don't put
yeah,
it
yeah.
out.
I mean, I'm an offender. I'm gonna be guilty of that because when I get people to help me, I need to get it into the street. I can't have people come and move it to the edge of my street and then pay somebody to come back and move it into the street.
But if you put it to the edge of the street, then the night before, you just sweep it into the street, then you're fine. Yeah, but yeah, that's, see,
But yeah.
we don't put out brush, so that's why I never remember when it is.
Well, I noticed that as in the days coming up to this meeting, I noticed that the leaves are pretty much still on the trees.
Yeah.
There hasn't really
So
been.
they would probably say
And-
there would be a second pickup.
Yeah, but, yeah, exactly, but I mean, under this proposed regulation,
Mhm.
the gas-powered allowance period would have started on the 1st of October.
Yeah.
So from this point forward, there would be the use of them during those limited hours.
Right.
But some people worried about litigation, so it's kind of, this type of regulation is battle-tested in federal court.
Right. Oh, they
So-
do have leaf collection.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
November and December, so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
And
just
then it's
brush.
Christmas trees.
Yeah, in January.
Some of the Maplewood you mentioned that has the restrictions, they banned them. They're completely banned in Maplewood now. And they are in favor of these Buffalo blowers, which are a 4-stroke engine, but it's much quieter. And it doesn't bother the people so much. They're big, they're sort of like, they're almost like large lawnmowers, you know, and they're drag along or push along, and they're very powerful, and that's what the landscapers are using in those areas. So there is technology that even if we use this as an interim in the long run, you could look at a ban.
And how are they successful with that ban? Like, do homeowners still, do they get Buffalo blowers too? Or is it only to like the companies that are?
No, actually the litigation, the funny thing about this was, in this litigation, it was the Landscapers Association, the basis for their lawsuit against Maplewood was that Maplewood banned the companies from doing it, but not people. And they said, oh, equal protection, equal protection.
Yeah.
So when Maplewood added individuals onto the statute, they were forced to withdraw.
Okay.
And so people are facing the same thing. They will
Okay.
have to, you know, if they have heavier jobs. But I will say, you know, in terms of larger jobs, of course, as Buffalo blowers, you can't clean out a park with an electric leaf blower. You can't, you know, do a large brush area or that kind of thing. That's not really reasonable. But when you do look at individuals' properties, there's kind of overkill. If you look at the leaf, if guys blowing leaves around, we see guys with double jetpacks blowing this big of leaf clippings, and it's all summer long, and it's like, come on, do you need that in the summer or you not?
Right. And do they need to deal with that level of noise and?
Well, they're all supposed to wear their own hearing protection, but we see lots of them that don't, and we don't know why. You know, we haven't been able to make heads or tails out of that. The guy who comes to the house next to me, we've offered like to give him hearing protection. He doesn't wear it.
So what?
Yeah.
Good one.
Okay, this
Yeah.
would be existential threat. And for issues surrounding this kind of, these kind of issues, there would have to be like a transition period where we would transition over to the electric equipment or regulation of electric equipment. Typically, what I've found from the other people with whom I've spoken on this is that the municipalities begin by transitioning their equipment. They start as a leaf blower, is old, they replace it with electric one. They get Buffalo blowers. They have education for the landscapers to show them how to use the new equipment and how to basically make money at it. I mean, that's gonna be their big concern, is gonna be, I need to be able to do this fast.
Right, because they have a lot of loans to do.
Exactly.
That
Yeah, it's a
requires
time
you to do
game.
it, yeah.
5 minutes, okay, let me see if there are any FAQs, but the bottom line is no one will go out of business, no one's gonna, no existential threats here. Litigation tested. Oh, they're not gonna go out of business. No, you don't have to do it by decibels.
Right, they would have a.
We do not have one. So that's, if anyone had the question, don't we regulate noise? I could only find one noise, related,
To machines.
and it pertains to machines.
Yeah, nobody runs around with a decibel meter to enforce it. It's just,
They just say, don't use the equipment, we're not gonna chase you around and try to measure whether your piece of equipment has its exhaust connected or not. So, if there's no other questions,
What do you anticipate being the next steps?
I would think that we would have, first of all, I have a gentleman lined up who would like to speak. Actually, 2 people who would be willing to speak here. And one is a gentleman who runs a completely green landscaping company in Ocean Township, all green equipment. And I saw his ad somewhere and I got in touch with him and I called him back and I said, he goes, this is my first summer, I'll let you know if I made any money. And he got in touch with me a little while ago and he said, I want to talk to you. Okay. And then the other is organizations like quiet communities and things like that. They have speakers who are knowledgeable about this. But the real thing would be to put together the regulatory language is easy. We would need to put together a transition plan, and part of that would be asking the municipality to take the lead. They would have to start, by committing to switching the equipment over, and then we have perhaps, other communities did it by a voluntary. They went to all the landscapers and they said, please, could you voluntarily for this year not do this?
Right.
Because the next year, we're not gonna let you do it anymore. So, with that, we could have education at the Environmental Day. There are training programs online.
Okay.
There are in-person training programs. So, that would be like we would need a transition plan.
Okay.
Nancy or Paul, do you remember when we heard about Spring Lake? I remember that they had one year where there was a voluntary program and they got feedback and buy-in, and then the next year they changed their policy. But I don't remember, did they go from 0 voluntary to full ban, or did they go to like this, a part
It was
of
a
the year?
partial,
I
yeah.
think they went partial.
I mean, I would like to have more so than kind of getting pitched from a green landscaper. Like, I don't really. I mean, personally, this is my personal opinion. Everybody, maybe we should take a vote or something like that. But I don't want to get. I don't necessarily need a sales pitch, from a company. Like, I know that companies can do that, and if I were a landscaper, that could be a tool. If you're looking to differentiate yourself, how do you from a million other landscapers, and your clientele and they're willing to pay more for it, that would be a great business opportunity. And I don't doubt that the technology is there. For me, the point is, how do you get the community on board? Because if you take the position that I feel like there's a lot of merit to this for the reasons that you discussed, that you shared. little two-stroke engines are crude, and for the size that they are, they're deceivingly really hazardous to human health and the environment. They supposedly operating a little gas-powered leaf blower for 30 minutes is equivalent to driving like 700 miles.
Yeah, they did have that.
It's like
Yeah.
really
That on a sign.
dirty,
That's
crude.
Yeah, it's much, when I read it, it's
So,
much more, but
so
no.
there's a lot of merit there.
Wow.
The point is, this information campaign, and my concern is if the EC or the council, the borough takes a position and gets too far out ahead of the public, of the community, it could backfire.
Yeah.
You know, and from hearing Spring Lake, it's a little bit more iterative, this approach that they took, where they did the voluntary ban, and then they did surveys, and it was kind of like a multi-step process. So I would like to hear from, you know, somebody from Spring Lake, like if we could get 2, maybe 3 tops, it's kind of a complex thing to roll out. Like I think if we just rolled it out and pushed out, you know, regulations, ordinances,
No, no.
it could be bad.
People
So if we
Because,
could
yeah.
like hear some lessons learned from municipalities that have done it successfully, gotten through the stages, and learned some of the hard lessons so that we don't have to learn them, I think that would be ideal.
Right.
if, I mean, I could go, I've already reached out to a lot of the communities that have done this.
Mhm.
And I've got, I mean, other than through the quiet communities, that's been working better, but the municipalities themselves have been like uniformly non-responsive. They just don't seem to have somebody who wants to come up, I mean, I don't know how they
Well, we
did
could come
it,
in on
you know.
Zoom. You know, we don't need them physically here. We could have them like Zoom in.
But is there like of the people, when you got the presentation from Spring Lake, was there like points of contact there
Yeah.
or?
Yeah,
or-
it's right here. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, I know somebody on the Princeton EC. I could reach out.
yeah, it was that group that I was just
Yeah.
speaking to, the NJAC.
Oh, Anjac, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the presentation that we attended at one of the Anjac conferences, yeah.
So I think what would make sense is to make an assessment of what what's worked for other communities, and then synthesize that into a campaign that would work for Red Bank.
But I think it has to be a different, and I'm winging this, but I think it has to be a different campaign than the ones that Spring Lake and Maplewood are doing, because I think we have a lot of residents in Red Bank who are landscapers.
Yeah, my next door neighbor,
Yeah,
both of them.
and so I feel like we need their buy-in, and
Yeah,
because it's, you know, it's not
Spring
like,
Lake is a bit
oh,
more-
they're coming, like,
Yeah.
landscapers are coming to our neighborhood. No, the landscapers are our next door neighbors.
Yeah.
So,
So like,
approach is very different.
it's
yeah.
very
Yeah.
different.
Different
I don't know
demographic.
what the approach would be, but yeah.
That's
same
fine.
thing with Princeton. I mean, we have a different they have a similar demographic. I mean,
Yeah.
Montclair, Princeton,
Yeah.
Maplewood, Spring Lake, like these are all wealthy towns.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I
Good
was, one of the reasons I was trying to bring that green guy in, because embedded in this is a business model. And you need somebody who knows how to make money at it. And that's the guy that's gonna sell it to the landscapers
Yeah.
that live here. So that's why I was like trying to find a way in, and I don't know if anybody else has an idea, you know, we need to be able to pitch the business model.
I
that
mean,
leads to it.
I was
Yeah.
reading about, like, I think the state of Utah, or a city in Utah, it was one of the articles that you sent me, they had the carrot and the stick. So the stick is what we're talking about with rolling out, like, ordinances and banning, you know, or minimizing it. The carrot is identifying grants. Now, I don't think we're gonna be providing grant money. I'm not aware of any grant money, but this city, or I think it was the state of Utah, they were giving $500 for every gas-powered leaf blower that was turned in, up to 6 in total, up to $3,000 per landscaping company. You know,
The state does have 2 bills. The Assembly bill, there's a bill out there that is directing I forget which organization, DEP or one of those,
Yeah,
to provide,
yeah.
what do you call it, rebates. And then the Senate bill is with the ban. So they do have like a carrot and stick. However, it's been
They're kind of-
introduced a number of years, it's very slow,
Yeah,
it's still sitting in committee.
right.
So it's not gonna be moving anytime
That's the
soon.
thing, like that is also somewhat of a,
And you'd have to
bellwether
push
for
that
how-
after November.
yeah. If it's not getting traction in Trenton,
Yeah,
whereas the plastic bag ban, we kind of had in the back of our mind, knew that Trenton was behind it and they were gonna pass, right?
yeah, there were a lot of towns that were doing it, which helped push Trenton and the Food Council to make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is a little bit different. I mean, there are a lot of towns, but I'd be curious if any of them are similar to our demographic, because the other ones are pretty much uniformly wealthy.
I mean,
Montclair
if
has,
we-
Montclair has a mix.
Do they?
They do, but it's not as significant as ours. You know, like
Mhm.
we're almost like 50-50.
Well,
They're more like
if-
70-30.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, if we were gonna, if behind this is reluctance due to the number of, commercial entities within Red Bank that do this type of work. I mean, the only two things that I could think to pitch to them would be that I don't know what portion of their clients are within the town of Red Bank. I mean, how much green space do we really have when it comes right down to it? I don't think this would present an
Impact them.
existential threat to any of them.
So just to close it out, because I know we want to hear from Chuck on his upcoming meeting with the water department tomorrow. Do we agree that a next step would be to hear from, try to correspond with 2, maybe 3 municipalities, ideally with a similar demographic as Red Bank,
Yeah.
as a next step?
Well, what does that, is that not, are you saying that's not Montclair, not Bergen, not Maple?
As similar as possible. I mean, if there are none, then so be it. I mean, but I think.
Well, we like to be the first in things too, so, as a town, Red Bank likes to be the
Mhm.
first to try new things. But, yeah, I think, I like Pam's idea of understanding where some of these landscape business, where they do reside in town, where do they do the majority of their work? Because if they're doing the majority of their work out of town, they will not be significantly impacted. But if they're doing the majority of the work in town, then, we have to really talk to them and get an understanding of, what they need. Yeah,
Mhm.
so, that's something.
If everybody has to obey the same rules, wouldn't that just change the
If the
market?
whole state did, yeah.
Well, not the whole state, but I mean, Red Bank, you live in Red Bank, you have to follow these rules, so.
Right, but as long as they're not
landscape
doing the work in Red Bank,
No, it's only for the work performed.
the work
That's what I'm
performed in Red
saying, yeah, but
Bank.
anyone who wants to
Like,
perform work in Red
I
Bank, they
heard-
would have to use.
I heard in Princeton, for example, when they engaged the community, they were like, look, you guys want this, just so you know, this is gonna cost you more money.
Right.
If you guys are okay with paying more money to be more eco-friendly, we're behind it as the landscapers. Like it takes more labor hours to sweep your driveway of your grass clippings than it does to blow it down.
Exactly.
If you wanna pay us for it, but I don't know how that would translate, so I think needs to be some engagement, community engagement, and finding out from other municipalities, like where their pinch points were and things like that, so. Do you want to do that as a
Yeah, I'll
next
reach
step?
out,
To
yeah, I'll reach
to
out
reach
to,
out, to reach out to 2 or 3, I can see if,
Yeah.
I can reach out to Princeton, because I know
Right.
somebody
But
there.
it could also be two-pronged too, like while you're reaching out, there would be like another team educating the public about the impact of gas-powered leaf blowers. And what Spring Lake did, which was pretty interesting, is they had information sent out with the tax bill. I'm sorry, the water and sewer bill, something like that. So they got that there and, started the public education. So you could do a public education campaign as well as trying to work.
Maybe the council would be okay with doing a partial ban in the summer or something.
Yeah,
Do
maybe.
those bills just go to the homeowners?
Yeah,
Is there a bill, or could it just be maybe something else that goes to like all the houses? Like what goes there?
I don't
In
know.
English and
everyone get?
Spanish.
Everyone gets
The
the
Food Town
e-blast.
There we go.
Yes, nail it.
And
Anyone reads it.
I get like,
To us,
I got Planet Fitness.
Everyone gets, what does everyone get? E-blast, I mean,
Like in their mailbox.
in their mailbox?
Yeah.
I don't know, I'll have to ask the clerk.
Man, that from this
That's a
town.
good question.
Is
Yeah,
it
because
because-
half of them will go to
Renting.
Florida.
Huh?
Half of them will go to like Eatontown or Florida
Yeah.
as the homeowners.
Oh,
Right.
Right.
Especially for tax bills.
And
I
you're-
don't
yeah,
use
like-
water.
And
Because there are a lot of
your
people that
taxes
don't
are
own
just
their
covered in
homes.
your mortgage, so you get
So
the thing.
maybe-
and
that's
now
right,
you
it's
get-
over 50%.
Why don't we
Yeah.
put,
You're not going
I think it would be
Alright,
better
we're too far.
if we put a plan together, like before we start just sending out information, I think it would be better if we identified a cohesive plan, understood that the plan would need to be revised, like, and revisited as we go through it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think we should first agree, decide as a group that like, this is something that we are behind and we wanna move forward with it, and then identify like, how are we gonna implement it? And I think the first step is to find out like, like a timeline. Like for example, like I could share the slide with you from Spring Lake. Like they had a timeline. Like this is the project. These are the milestones. We send out a survey or we send out an information campaign with the water bill. On such and such date, and it kind of like gets us closer to the end goal, which is the ban or something like
Yeah, I
that.
mean, they all have Facebook pages, right? Everybody's got the district page, and the school could probably put it up, and,
The schools, that's how they
Right.
work.
So why don't we see what we can get in terms of maybe having them come do a quick Zoom or something like that, where we could ask them questions for 15, 20 minutes tops, like one person per EC meeting, and we can try to devise our own action plan.
Okay, so specifically, what do you need me to do?
Reach out to 2 municipalities
Okay.
that have a similar demographic as Red Bank
And
as
to
possible.
basically see if they can speak to us and provide their plan.
Yeah. For 15, 20 minutes. Okay, and I'll get in touch with Princeton.
I will do Spring Lake and, I don't know, Montclair. We'll see who surfaces. But I think at the end of it, we need to be able to show people that they can still make money.
Okay, so it's almost 8 o'clock. The ordinances, I don't think we have any planned ordinances right now. I know that there's discussion about getting an ordinance for native plants, like trying to get suggestions. I know Travers is working on that. Is there anything on plastic? We're almost at the at Chuck's update. Chuck, we'll be there in just a minute. With the plastic bag recycling, is there anything there in terms of like the status of the program,
It's
whether
still
it's
going.
permanent or
It's permanent,
it's now permanent?
yeah,
Oh,
as
okay.
far as this council is concerned, yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we're all for it. When the contract for garbage and recycling is renewed, we're going to look at ways that we can enhance the program.
Okay.
But for now, yes, still put your buckets out, it's still being collected.
When does that come up for renewal?
Lucky person's problem, that's what I heard from
1 or 2
someone.
years.
Okay.
This is actually facilitating it for one town.
Yeah, there's
Ocean Township.
Yeah, Unwaste is doing it for Ocean Township.
You did see.
I did reach out to Lauren at Unwaste, she
Yes.
hasn't gotten back to me yet.
Yeah.
Oh,
I reached out to her
Alright,
last week, so
so-
I'll give her.
wow, okay.
I
So
just
then,
asked about her tipping fee,
Safe drinking
Okay.
water?
so.
so the,
You guys know.
the other thing is renewable energy, we just need to reach out to, we were doing this, RGEA,
Yeah, the borough could not get a rate that was they couldn't find a competitive rate
Right.
for renewable energy, but now with everybody doing community solar, you know, that might be, if you could find another way that you can get the whole town on board. you
Yeah,
know,
I'd be,
something
I
like
don't
that.
know if those are mutually exclusive. I mean, I guess we could talk offline because it's getting
Yeah.
late on that, so
Okay,
we can
so-
revisit that the next time. So
Alright, so water storage,
for the safe drinking water,
water storage.
so Chuck has an update for us on your meeting with the,
It's scheduled tomorrow
For
at 10
tomorrow.
o'clock. And he shared the questions I was gonna ask. I'm a former regulator on water allocation.
I could tell.
I helped create critical area number 1, which many of you probably didn't even realize you were in back in the 80s. And it was so we could sell the water at Glendola. We built the reservoir that had been approved, funding back in 1950s, and they only got around to the 1980s to building it. That's how things go in New Jersey. I think the issue that concerned all of you was the PFA. Is it?
PFAS.
Yeah. And they are testing for it. They report it annually in their, both American Water Works and the borough. Both test for it and both meet current regulatory standards. Although there's suggestion that the current EPA standard may be lowered going into the future.
yeah, that's due out in early 2024.
But that usually goes to comment, and we'll see what the response is. That's not a guarantee.
But they're gonna, EPA is proposing to drop the level from 13 to 14 parts per trillion to 4 parts per trillion, which is,
Wow.
considering the fact that 1 part per
Charge.
trillion
Yeah.
is 1 drop of water in a combined 35 Olympic-sized swimming pools. That's the level.
Like
that-
sands on a
that's-
beach.
I mean, that tells you how carcinogenic PFAS is.
Well,
So-
let's put that, you
but-
said the word carcinogenic, I want to clarify
Yeah.
that. It's based on 1 in a million risk. And understand that 1 in a million risk is the same as driving your car 2.5 miles an hour.
Fair enough.
Just to put it in perspective.
Just
But
also
then-
to clarify though, our drinking water not only meets the current rule for PFAS, but it is compliant with the proposed rule of 4 parts per
And
trillion.
the reason our water meets it,
Without treatment for
there's a
PFAS.
reason. We are one of the few towns that still has its well, despite critical area number 1 being created.
Yeah.
All the other municipalities sold their water systems to American Water Works.
Yep.
And the American Water, we were only cutting them back 40%. They shut the wells down 100%, and you're getting surface water. Well, the surface water is at higher risk
Yes. Right.
from industrial impacts. The groundwater you're getting out of the ground was put there millions of years ago.
And there was a reason why we didn't sell the well, right? It's not like someone was thinking about our health.
I'm not sure what the I always felt glad to move to Red Bank because I knew we were one of the
Getting
things.
good water.
But we are buying more of our water from American Water Works, and as I'm trying to get them to explain that. But the important thing, the question came up: can I get the data? Is it published? It is. And right now, you're in compliance, and as Paula pointed out, as far as the township wells are concerned, which I call Old Bridge wells, but you don't want a geologist
No,
going
but-
into that. So, anyway, the other issue, the other important question, because I think that's critical, especially under sustainability, leakage. We are an old water system.
Are you talking about the lead in pipes now?
Nope,
No, it's not
leakage.
Leakage.
Pipes, 100 years old, 80 years old, they leak. And I doubt the town has ever taken the time to compare their meter at the wellhead, and the amount of water they withdrawn, and then what they actually bill to see how those numbers match up, and what is the differential between what they bill versus what they actually take out of the game. Because usually there's a lossage. And the case, classic case I get, is we knew when I was at Division of Water Resources, we had the city of Camden that had a leaking valve that was discharging 10 million gallons a day of potable water into the Delaware River.
Oh my gosh.
And we couldn't get them to see it shut that damn
Is it
valve.
still going?
I don't know, but it was back then in the 1980s.
Well,
Oh my
I'll cite something for you. Same thing happened about 20 years ago. I had my water main done at our house on Elm. And the meter only measures what comes into the house. And then it's where you get the guy from the town and the water guy who sits there. And he wanted to just shoot a little torpedo across and be done. And they shot like 200 feet, 300 feet, it never came out the other side. Ended up taking the whole yard up. And it was leaking from the street somewhere.
Wow.
So I wasn't even billed for it.
My meter's inside the house,
Right. Oh,
in the
everybody.
basement.
Right. So I wasn't going to bill for that, but the town was obviously leaking water.
And
Leakage studies are important, especially in older water systems. And it really became a problem in the 80s in Atlantic City with the casino development because they started building all these casinos and the big cranes were breaking the water mains, and the main water mains in Atlantic City.
is that why Atlantic City Water Authority is considered one of the best in the nation now?
I would question that statement.
I've heard that.
I would say that, no, the authority it's a agency that has a lot of power that no one else has control over.
One more thing with that.
The city, yeah.
Oh, sorry, as climate
No, I
change
was-
happens,
Yeah.
water is going to be more important.
No.
That's why we
Well,
don't own our water.
if anyone knows California, they've actually mined most of their groundwater.
I was gonna say,
And
are
you're-
we depleting?
A lot of
What
Western
are our
states are
groundwater
banning-
levels?
Well, actually, you get 44 plus inches of rain a year. It's going to
So
be
it's
a
depleted,
while.
or it's
But
replenishing.
you're getting surface water. The reason we went away from surface water was the fear of the Spanish flu in the late 1918s to 1920s. Everyone was getting mostly surface water in New Jersey. But the thought was, oh, Spanish flu, does it come from the water supply? No one verified it. They all went to groundwater. If you can get it. But now, you're going to need a balance between surface and groundwater. We're in a good situation. We had a drought back in the 90s where the state actually gave, or in the early 2000s, where the state gave American Water a hard time about putting two Raritan wells in. And I would have argued, wait a minute, they shut off the wells 100%. That 60% water should have been a bank credit for the future. Why can't they have? They eventually got the wells, but they had to do a dog and pony. The other thing is the lead study. I happen to be a resident who has been informed that his connection is an old one and therefore is going to be replaced. I've been contacted. I've given my contact information. They're going to replace my connection, but my house was built somewhere between 1906 and 1908. I
Did you get a
wasn't
date?
surprised.
Because we had a date, but they missed the date.
Well, they're still trying to get the permission from the homeowners. That's the real, they're still out trying to get permission from the homeowners to come in and do it.
We gave them permission, they were supposed to come on Friday, and they never showed up, so I just thought it was the rain.
Well, it
So-
was the rain on Friday, yeah.
No, okay.
But, yes, yeah.
I thought your questions for them were really good, but
Yeah.
I was wondering about, like, why isn't that all somehow posted somewhere in a user-friendly manner so that anybody from the community can look at it and say, oh,
Because that sounds very logical, but human nature being what it is, it just doesn't get out there.
No,
You've got to go search. Paulo and I researched the question because we weren't concerned about contamination, and then we discovered, oh, they're already testing it.
Right, so there's also, to wrap it into one of our initiatives, which is the Sustainable Jersey Certification, one of the actions is called a municipal water story. I did read the action, and it is intimidating. I don't know if it's something, it reads like it's writing an ERI.
Asbury did it.
They did?
Yeah.
I feel like I
Before it
need to
can be
see an
done.
example, because it's like 20 to 25 points, which is kind of, you get a lot of points.
Yeah.
But it sounds like a thesis.
Right, but
Um,
it is also about one aspect you mentioned, communicating in a way that people can understand about their water. So there is some of that in there.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
the
I'll
borough
read
think
is
this is-
actually
this is the
doing it
first
on
step,
its
you know,
website.
like-
Yeah, he's doing
identifying-
a great first step,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely, we can definitely continue to revisit it.
And the other
if it's something
question
we can handle.
I'm asking them is, what are your plans on the lead connection is just one issue. What are we doing about leakage? What are we doing about funding? In the old days, the water companies were, what they charged for the water was also to pay for infrastructure repairs. Are we doing that? But, you know, other communities used to take those funds, put it into general list, and then they would pork barrel steal it for their own projects. They never put anything back into the water utility. I don't know how Red Bank does it, what they do with the fees for water treatment. But you actually, I knew already that our water is very good. You want your well water, and we're one of the few communities. And oh, by the way, our projections showed that it would take about 2020 to reach sea level. And actually, because of the shutdown by American Water Works, we achieved that goal back. But we're the only ones using groundwater within critical area number one, just about.
I feel like that should be marketed too.
Well, what, that might become a sore point with other, there was a secondary, because the study showed, because we were showing growth projections throughout the rest of the state, and our coastal aquifers are all interconnected. So after 2020, we started seeing the water levels coming down again. It was what was going on outside of critical area number one. So we created critical area number two, which included Camden, by the way. And we got sued by the developers under Mount Laurel because they had to grow and they needed water to grow to build low income housing. The court found in favor of the lawsuit because it had never been the intent of the legislature for the Division of Water to take away allocations, only to grant allocations. So, but critical area number one remained because when they refused to join the lawsuit. They said, well, you guys go do it, you'll see what happened. And then they won, statute of limitations, the judge said, hard luck, you stay. You could have joined, you didn't. And by the way, for those of you who don't know it, you don't own the water under your property. It belongs to the state of New Jersey.
Right.
This is how we are different from Western law, where it's a right of, and the owner can sell it to someone else and sell you the land, you may not own that right. In New Jersey, the state owns all the groundwater. You don't. So if you contaminate it, that's why they can make you clean it up.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Does anybody have any, thank you, Chuck, anybody have any questions to bring for Chuck to tomorrow's meeting?
Yeah, so anything you
I
like,
just had another question. The American Water, do they test for leakage in their systems?
they inherited the systems, they
Right,
are
then-
gradually
Isn't
rebuilding.
that,
They're not going to be in attendance at tomorrow's meeting.
no, I understand that.
So I
just
can't,
wondered if that
but
was
I've
something
worked with
that
them
was
in other states as a consultant, because I had to build a remediation system because my company had contaminated the groundwater and it was being used for public water supply in Arizona and Scottsdale. So I built a water treatment system to remove.
It's my understanding that's why a lot of communities went to American Water, because they were
The
taking care
cost.
of the infrastructure.
Well, yeah, that was it, because they had, the infrastructure system in the coastal plain is pretty bad. So if,
Yeah.
yes, the cost of their water went up also to reflect that, because they are for profit. And that's why I was like, because for at least for a while, we had the cheapest water in the area. I'm not sure that still remains the case, but we still have a little more control over what we charge for water.
Yeah, it's definitely a sense of pride for the borough. I know from talking to people in town, you know, that we run our, at least part of the year, our own water utility. And then, if there's nothing else for Chuck, I know, just real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Megan did a little research on the lead.
Oh, yeah, well, and then I also saw that the borough had an update too, I think on the website, that, they tested 1,000 pits for.
They excavated
Thank
connection.
you. And then, they are going to do 290 of them, which is great, but the guy said that there's like 70% of the 1,000 are galvanized or like need to be changed.
Yeah.
So there just has to be a way to pay for all of that.
That's what we're, what's that?
Not the paying part, just the
The
290.
70%.
The, not 70%, the 290.
I don't think they're charging the homeowners for it, as far as I know.
Not if you're in Census District 8034, I think that's what was made very clear, yeah, okay, that's where you were.
The only flaw I found was that it took the boroughs so long to do the study when there were grants available to do it.
I know, so I have a lot of neighbors who are very upset because they doled out the money, which was like significant. It was like 6,000 or
Yeah,
like
to change
8,000,
out the
because you
pipes.
had to pay for Red Bank side and your own side, or you know, whatever.
And you had
so-
to use Red Bank's contractor, you had to do it through DPW.
Yeah.
So can I take that credit?
In this house.
No, I think the ones that they're changing, the homeowners don't have to pay for it.
I've not been told that I have to pay
yeah.
for it.
Only as part of this project,
Only for this project.
only for
yeah.
this project, but if you don't wanna wait and do it on your own, then
Oh,
you
you
have
have
to
to
pay.
pay.
I haven't tested my water. The odds are pretty high. Mine might be lead. I don't think we had galvanized back into 1906.
Didn't they test it? Because they just.
They tested, they said they're just changing it. They didn't tell me which kind of connection I had.
I didn't.
But I
wasn't around town.
I took an educated guess that the probability is,
Well, I would
Right.
assume, like, cause my neighbor was told she had galvanized, and she's across the street, so I would assume if she has galvanized, then don't we all? If we were all
depends
built
on the
around
age
same-
of the
Well,
house.
we're all like 1910. and
Right,
then-
and that's
Oh,
why
I
the
might be
70%
Maybe
number
replaced since then as well.
makes sense. And I spoke with somebody who,
It's a
worked
real
with
small
the
percentage that
project
actually
in
do
Newark,
that.
where they replaced all the lead lines in Newark
Hmm.
in 3 years. But then, you know, Newark, when they get something going, they just
Yeah,
cut it.
Well, they got
And-
funding too.
Yeah, and she basically said, well, why did you think it was gonna be less than 70%? Because all of our homes are old, of course it's there.
Yeah.
Unless, you know, you did a major remodel because you noticed that your water flow was low and then you changed everything out.
Yeah.
But very few people have, you know, relatively speaking, not that many people have done that.
Especially with the meters in the house, you
So
don't know what
it didn't sound like there's anything that the EC identified that we can contribute to the process for now.
I don't
No.
think so, unless we can come up with money.
No, that's really, that's above
Yeah, yeah.
EC at this
Okay.
point.
Otherwise, Sustainable Jersey certification, thank you, those of you that got back to me with some actions that you'd be willing to work towards, and I'll probably reach out to you guys to schedule some like one-on-one meetings so we can go over how that would shake out, and that's it. That's a
And
wrap.
how are we looking on points? Do we have leftover points, a significant amount,
I'm
or
not sure,
carryover points? Okay.
I'm sure we have some.
Do you want to talk about stormwater and green infrastructure?
I think we're kinda out of time, yeah, that's just like an ongoing initiative, and, I'm hoping to attend Anjec's 50th anniversary that's coming up. I did attend, they have this online series of webinars on stormwater utilities, and the person that was one of the presenters is gonna be at the Anjec event, so I wanted to ask if we could benefit from it as a town are there examples that demonstrate that a stormwater utility would
correlate to improved surface water quality.
And I think you need to have an education process, because a lot of people hear the formation of a utility, and it's a misconception. I think it's a bad choice of wording to call it a utility. It's not.
Right. It's like a fund.
Yeah.
It's really a fund. It's a
And-
funding.
It
it's
has
just a
to
different
be,
rate
it has to
structure.
be clearly defined as a trust fund,
Yeah.
because the way New Jersey taxes are, because money can be rated to cover anything. you
Yeah.
know, It
Well,
gets,
our
it's subject to
legislature's
the
gotten
court,
very good at that.
yeah.
I just have one more update for the planning board.
Yeah.
I mean, just that they approved or voted on updating the amount that a developer has to contribute for a shade tree from $500 to $1,000.
Gotcha.
Great.
Nancy
Yeah.
updated
That's-
us last meeting.
Right, we introduced the ordinance, but planning board had to
Oh.
release it,
Yes.
because it was
Oh.
it was land use. Somebody asked a question about that, didn't they? Is that Lou? Sounded like it was Lou. He was asking something about that, and he should know. Anyway,
That was like in compliance with.
Actually, I like the
Yeah, I
idea
think he was trying to
calling
ascertain
it a
when that would
stormwater
come in,
trust.
like if it was
Oh.
new developments as
Yeah.
well as,
okay.
like if
I think
it
I'd
was
rename it
existing
if
and
we
then
ever
come
got the
down,
old-
like when does it happen?
Anybody have anything else they want to add before we adjourn?
Questions?
I move we adjourn.
Second,
All right.
even though I'm not.
All
a
in
member.
favor?
Okay.